I think creativity is something that lives inside almost everyone, even if people don't always recognize what their creative outlet is or how their creativity shows up. I feel like there's a certain touch that even people that aren't super familiar with art can see in art that's made by a human instead of a computer. Even now with all the advancements in AI art and how many deepfakes are very convincing and how detailed AI art can get now. I think, a couple of years ago, someone could make some AI art and you could look at it and be like, oh, that's AI art. Like that hand has too many fingers or the lighting isn't right or something like that. And now there's been a lot of advancements to the point where even AI art can look very realistic and have some of that. But I think no matter what, there's still a certain sense of when you see a piece of art that's made by a person, you can tell that they put a piece of themselves inside that art in some way, whether it's their attention to detail or the story that that art is communicating. And I just don't know that AI art will ever be able to replicate that.
Oh gosh. So the biggest difference between AI-generated art and human-generated art to me would be some sort of personal passion or intrinsic motivation to create. I just don't think AI brings the emotional origin to art that a human does.
I think AI-generated art is definitely, I feel like it lacks a certain element that human-made art has because there's not really any effort behind it other than a computer. I like sculpture because, especially like older ones, because you can really tell how much effort has gone into making what is now like an art piece. And I just think it's really cool to see the hard work, like as a final product, knowing what all goes into it.
Do I consider AI art to be real art? At this point, I don't know. I use AI to help with writing. I do a lot of writing in my work, and so I certainly consider it a technical tool, but I don't know if I consider it a creative tool. Like if I read a book that had been created by AI, I don't know if I would count that as literature any more than I would count an art piece by AI. So agnostic or vote still out, I guess.
I would say that it's art in the same way that heating up a freezer meal is cooking, if that makes sense. So yes, you are creating something, but it's not something that you have done a lot of work or put a lot of skill into creating. And AI art fills a very specific gap for those people who don't feel like they can either make their own art or approach art in a way that seems familiar to them. But I think it's also detrimental because it uses the abilities and skills and imagery of people who are comfortable making art.
I just feel like every time I've seen AI art, it's just people making like random things, and it doesn't really have the same kind of, like, I don't know the word. I just feel like AI art is definitely not as thoughtful as like what people are creating by hand because it's so easy to access and create. The pieces just aren't as like special.